Hi, I'm Dave Gardy for CyberSecurity TV from our studios here near Washington, D.C. for this special presentation on the Compliance Automation Series with SteelCloud. Joining me now here in the studio is Dan Turissini, who is a cybersecurity specialist with Educare of Northern Virginia, and Mr. Brian Hajost, who's the COO of SteelCloud. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Now, everybody's talking about CMMC 2.0. Wanted to just get some definitive thoughts on it from each of you, and we'll start with Dan.
Oh, thank you, Dave, and thanks for having us here. Well, CMMC 2.0 is an evolution of CMMC, I guess. It moves around a couple of the different parts of the process. I guess, you know, every change of administration, you got to put your fingerprint on things, and so it moves things around a little bit. But in total, it is really essentially what CMMC was intended to be, an addition to or a realization of NIST 171. The training is still the same. It's being reformatted for the new designation of levels, but the individual training objectives, I'm actually providing a training class next week for CMMC professionals, is pretty much the same. It's the same curriculum and will be updated as the new levels and the new requirements are kind of leveled out.
So it's 5 levels, no longer it's 3 levels now.
That's right. They put level 1 and 2 into level 1. Level 2 was really just a stepping stone into level 3, and that's where the maturity process came along. And then level 3 is now level 2 or medium, and then expert level 3 is what level 4 and 5 was meant to be.
And level 1 is now self-assessment.
Level 1 is going to be self-assessment, at least in the current thinking. So it should be what 171 compliance, self-assessment compliance was supposed to be. They're trying to put more teeth in it, so they're doing the False Claims Act application to that. So basically, when you upload your level 1 compliance into SPARS, whatever you claim, you better be doing, because if they find out later as you execute your contract that you're not doing what you claimed you're doing, there are consequences under the False Claims Act.
Brian, from your perspective, where you're serving the clients with compliance automation for originally 171, now whatever CMMC 2.0 is going to evolve to, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, as Dan had said, I think that CMMC 2.0 is a further rationalization of the original program. I think there's a little bit of confusion in that people say that, you know, they learn that the final rules for CMMC are, you know, either months or years off, and you know, they want to take a wait-and-see attitude. But the fact is, it's kind of back to the future. As Dan had said, 171 has been with us now for 4 years. They have current requirements to do almost everything that's in, will be in CMMC 2.0. They have requirements today if they handle CUI data. So we're advising our customers to immediately go back to 171 and you know, rededicate themselves to that activity. And, you know, as Dan had said, they're putting more teeth in 171 with the False Claims Act. So people need to get a little more serious about 171 compliance. Was
there widespread 171 compliance prior to the CMMC?
Well, I think that's one of the reasons we got CMMC. If you look at the interim rule that came out now just a little over a year ago, the government admitted that CMMC was the action they took because they did not feel that the self-assessment parts of 171 were being effective. So it really wasn't widely implemented at the degree it should have been. So CMMC for those customers, those DIB members, were a pretty big lift if they hadn't done the 171 work.
And there's even at press time some talk about incorporating some elements of CMMC back into 171?
Yeah, the DoD has announced that they're going to look to take the controls that were in the original CMMC that were not in 171 and ask NIST to implement those in future releases of 171. So I think all the contractor community can look to see that CMMC and 171 are going to be synchronized pretty closely in the future.
Now, from a compliance perspective, Dan, what is recommendations you have for corporations that are now trying to figure this all out?
Yeah, so I guess read the documentation. I would go to some of these preparation classes. I think they even have one-day classes now. I think the main thing is assess your risk and don't only look at the cost of what compliance means, look at what the cost of not being compliant means to you. It's also important to note that 171 in the old DFARS was all self-assessment. 171 in the new CMMC 2.0 and the new 171 look ahead is self-assessment only when it pertains to federal contract information. So if you're touching controlled, unclassified information, you need to be assessed. You will need to be assessed. And that's where level 2 comes in, because level 1 will be only for the FCI, level 2 for CUI. The other thing that's interesting is, even if you're going to proceed to the new level 3, formerly 4 and 5, although the assessment of the 4 and 5 controls, or the level 3 controls, will be done by the federal government, you need to pass the level 2 assessment, which is going to be the CMMC assessment for the level 2 requirements. And as Brian said, I think we came to where we are today because 171 was, and I said this in one of my other presentations, it was, here it is, here's all these things, go do them. And I think a lot of people were overwhelmed. Also, a lot of people didn't know where to go with all of this. It wasn't segmented, it wasn't do this for this for that, and so on. And I think the self-assessment failed because it was for all the controls, and I think a lot of people just said, well, it's just too much to do right now. CMMC tried to make it a step-by-step process and grow and mature as you go down the line. And maybe that got abbreviated now, and I think that's where the confusion Brian commented on. The bottom line is, start with 171. Do 171. Do it in earnest. Do it as if you're going to be assessed, because it's not only important to the supply chain, it's not only important to the DIB, it's important to your risk posture and where you're going to be going forward in your cybersecurity practices.
Now, Brian, we're not going to know anything about the regulatory implementation of CMMC 2.0 until 9 to 24 months down the line. So give us a perspective of what you're telling your clients as it pertains to what you specialize in, which is compliance automation.
Well, I couldn't say any better than Dan just did. I mean, there are some unknowns about CMMC 2.0, but there are knowns on 171. So we're recommending to our customers, just as Dan had mentioned, start with 171 in earnest, do the set 171, and you'll be well prepared when we know exactly what is required for CMMC 2.0 in 9 months or a year from now.
And what is the advantage that compliance automation brings to the table in this process?
Well, there's a couple of areas that any organization will have to look at in terms of compliance for either 171 or CMMC. One is the area of the human or non-technical compliance, where they're answering questions about how they physically protect their organizations, how they audit, how they do those types of things, their processes. And then there's the other is their system level controls. So hardening their systems and reporting and that type of thing. So we supply technology that allows organizations to harden their environment for 171 or CMMC at the lowest possible cost and effort as available. And so we look at the automation piece to reduce the total price tag to either get 171 compliant or CMMC compliant.
Interesting perspective from both gentlemen. We've been talking to Dan Turissini, who is a cybersecurity specialist with Educare of Northern Virginia, and also Brian Hajost, who's COO of SteelCloud. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us for this compliance automation series.
Thank you.
I'm Dave Gardy for CyberSecurity TV from our studios here near Washington, D.C. Thanks for watching.